welcome to a brand new episode of Coming Distractions brought to you by the Nerdpocalypse podcast. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host this week, Brad.
Hi there, Jay.
All right, guys, we are back. We are going to talk about, Brad got the luxury of seeing the new Dune movie. So this is the Denis Villeneuve's version of Dune. So I will read the synopsis for the film. Paul Atreides, a brilliant and gifted young man born into a great destiny beyond his understanding, must travel to the most dangerous planet in the universe to ensure the future of his family and his people. As malevolent forces explode into conflict over the planet's exclusive supply of the most precious resource in existence, only those who can conquer their own fear will survive.
Read the book, not seen the 84 movie. So the first thing I'll say about Dune, incredibly faithful to the novel.
Really?
Which is both its greatest strength and biggest weakness simultaneously.
I was going to say.
It's so the thing that I heard in interviews, but it seems like it wasn't made very clear, is that this is part one. Like, there's supposed to be two movies that encompass the Dune novel, essentially. So this movie is what I expected to be visually. Like, Denis Villeneuve does a great job, directing and with cinematography and just making like really great spectacles. We saw it when we saw Blade Runner 2049, and this is no different. Like I said, gorgeous film, well acted, fantastic soundtrack. The atmosphere is fantastic. It's a fantastic realization of Frank Herbert's novel, and it captures Dune in a way that I visualized it when I read the book. It's very similar to how I visualized everything. However, because this movie essentially is the first half of the book, for lack of a better term, it is a 2.5 hour exposition piece, essentially, where you're getting to learn about the world and the characters and things of that nature. And I mean, obviously, there's some pretty significant events that happen. Mm-hmm. Again, if you're familiar with the novel, you'll know the events that happen in that first part. If not, if you're going into this like expecting, like a New Hope level of film, getting into this new Dune universe, it is not that at all.
But
that's
really good to know. That's good to know for listeners and viewers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more methodical. It really wants you to invest in the world. Like, Araxis, arguably, aside from Paul, is the main character of the movie. Like that is kind of the set piece. It really wants you to be invested in what's going on Araxis, and then also following Paul's journey that he essentially sets out on in this first film. So I think Timothée Chalamet does a fantastic job as Paul Atreides. There's a like the novel always portrayed Paul as being incredibly competent quickly,
right?
And I think Timothée Chalamet does a great job of kind of portraying that on the screen. I think Rebecca Ferguson does a fantastic job as well as Lady Jessica.
She's great.
She should get more really good roles because she's putting on the best acting performance. The funny thing is, though, this is a star-studded cast. Like, there's a ton of really known actors, like Josh Brolin's in this. Jason Momoa's in this.
Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac's in this. Like, there's so many people. Stellan Skarsgård is in it. But because it is so faithful to the novel, a lot of these big actors aren't on screen very much in the film.
Probably
because there's. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say probably relegated to the sequel if that happens.
In some cases, yes, for sure. But
not everyone.
But yeah, not everyone's going to be in the sequel. But it is it's just interesting to have a movie with that much star power, but very little screen time for a lot of those stars. Like they're almost like a few of those actors that I mentioned, and I won't mention who, are really in what could be considered glorified cameos in this movie in a lot of ways, just because of how the story is structured and the fact that this is Paul's story. Like, it really is Paul's story. I will say that the movie focuses on Paul almost exclusively. There's a lot of stuff in the first half of the Dune novel where you see, a lot more of Duke Leto and Jessica's relationship, apart from Paul and things of that nature that you really don't get focused on too much in this one. It really is all about following Paul and his journey to Arrakis and kind of his coming into his own. And this is kind of the coming of age story, I guess, because like I said, I know where it's going in part 2. So like that's the biggest through line of story is that it's the Paul Atreides coming of age film.
Okay, that's fair. Now, are you excited to see a sequel if that happens? Because I don't think it's supposed to happen, but I don't think it's definitive that it is, considering the
if it doesn't happen, people are gonna be really pissed off because this movie literally ends where you're expecting it to pick up with a sequel. Like it does not end in a position where we don't get resolution to what's going on, that it's going to feel very satisfying. So yes, I would like to see the other half of this film, especially again knowing what happens in the second half of the movie. I'm very interested to see how they tell that story, and I think because of how they chose to tell the story in this film, they can do a lot of very interesting things with the plot points that are expected in the second movie. So I would very much like to see that. I hope this movie does well enough that Warner Brothers would like to make sure the second one does indeed happen. So. Yeah,
I just can't imagine a scenario where it's like, don't worry about it. Like, you're leaving so much. Like, not only you're leaving money on the table if you do that. Like, you could make this into, I mean, obviously it doesn't have to be a massive franchise or anything, but like, you're leaving the popularity of a product, you're cutting a product before it's finished, right? Like, live or die. Like, you should tell the whole Dune story. You shouldn't just cut it off like, I didn't make enough money. Like, that seems really reckless, but it's WB, so 50-50 is a 50-50 chance that they do that.
I'm a little concerned though, because even though this movie I think it's good, I don't know how much wide appeal it's going to have, because it's a very specific genre of sci-fi, and it is not. If you don't get invested in the characters and in what's in the things that are going on in the machinations that are happening, it's a hard movie to get through because it's 2.5 hours long. Like, it's a very long film that covers a relatively short period of time. So again, there's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of like small action sequences. Like, nothing like, there's a few very grandiose set pieces, but it's not like constant action. Like they really give these characters a lot of time to breathe. So
I don't see it being a like Star Wars level like fandom behind it, and I don't think it ever would be any version of it. But I do think there is a chance that it could be niche enough to really appeal to people who really love the book, right? Or really love the 1980s movie, but also just love the idea of like sort of really hard sci-fi. I think there is a place for that, right? Like, there was a place for Blade Runner 2049. It isn't in the mainstream. A lot of people are like, I didn't even see that. Yeah, well, Blade Runner wasn't really that mainstream either. Like, it just isn't.
Yeah, very much a cult classic. So.
Right, and I think Villeneuve's 2049 was amazing, but it's for that very small, section of sci-fi fans, and that's okay. I hope people don't go into it like, there's going to be an action movie just like Star Wars. Like, no, it's not. It's very different, but that's okay. Like, it's fine.
But that's my fear though, is because the trailers that I saw make this seem like more epic than it probably actually is. So.
Right. So we'll see. Do you have a score for
I would say 3.5 out of 5 is probably where I'm landing with it.
Okay, and it is out on it'll be out in theaters and on HBO Max here, I believe this Friday. So
so you don't even have to go out. Just spend the time to watch it at home if you have HBO Max.
That's what I'm doing. So I'm very much looking forward to it. But thank you, Brad, for coming in signing on. in this new world for their review for Dune. So 3.5 out of 5 for Denis Villeneuve's Dune, and we will see you guys next time.
See ya.